Hi everybody! In this video, we are going to be talking about biohacking and biohacks that have changed my life and my patients' lives forever. And I want to start out by saying that word biohack probably needs a better word, but we don't quite have it yet. And I want to just define it in my explanation, which is therapies and treatments and protocols that help you challenge your body, challenge your cells to get to the next level of function. Cells, what does that mean? Well, the best way to explain it is using a word called hormesis. And hormesis means stressor. So in the plant world, you can look at olive and olive oil, grapes and wine, and get a really good example. So it turns out that the olive oil that is the most coveted, the most expensive, the one that everybody wants, is from the olive plant that had the most stress. So why is that? Well, and this is the same with grapes and wine. The most coveted, most expensive bottle of wine is the crop that had stress. So that means the crop that had, let's say, excessive rains, or an excessive drought, or some other issue. Because what happens is the plant has an innate knowledge that if it's getting stressed, it needs to produce more antioxidants, more protective nutrients so that it can survive. And what is fascinating about these human bodies we have been gifted, and I will tell you, the reason why I absolutely love what I do is because this vessel and the soul and the energy body that we have been given is so incredibly innately intelligent, I cannot stress that enough, that it knows the same thing as the plants. We just have overridden it with societal comforts, with our overactive and hijacked brain. And so what happens to us is when we get cold, we put on a coat or we go inside. If we get hot, we go in the air conditioning. If we're hungry, we eat at every corner, right? So we don't have those stressors that our ancestors did. So biohacking, in my mind, is basically the way to bring back in that adaptive response. It's a hormesis for the body. So some of the ones that have really changed my personal life, I'd say probably number one is infrared sauna. So the infrared sauna, and that is a wavelength of light that's not visible, but it's heat and a wavelength that's not visible to the eye. The heat goes deeper in and allows the tissue around your organs to get heated up enough that you can sweat out toxins that are stuck there. And when those toxins that are stuck deeper in come out through the sweat, you are going to be able to clear chemicals that you couldn't access just with a regular sauna or just sweating outside. Additionally, just heat in general triggers heat shock proteins, which are protective. So there are many, many aspects of sauna. You also loosen your muscles up. You get a relaxing release of neurochemicals that that can help your mood. So I'd probably say that's number one for me, but I also was kind of on this trend 15 years ago when the saunas, these high-end saunas that are now $7,000 or $8,000, were about $1,500. And I can tell you proudly that the sauna I got back then, I still use. Actually, my entire family uses 3 to 4 times a week. Even the dog and cat love it. They can get in and out, and so they regulate their own body temperatures. But what you want to do is get in until you get a good sweat. And what you'll find is at the beginning, the sweat gland can be clogged. Your ability to heat up your body temperature may not be great. So I always thought I was fancy because I didn't sweat. Well, that was actually a toxic reaction from all the chemotherapy and different things that I'd had in my body. And once I started training with the sauna more regularly, getting in there, I finally got to a point where I would sweat regularly after about 10 minutes before it took me 20 to 30. So sauna is probably number one. Intermittent fasting I have played on and off with. The trick with fasting is that it can often be overdone. And I'll say this about all biohacks and all hormesis. It is supposed to be a small stressor. So you, as a human, have a different stress tolerance than your spouse, your kid, your friend. They may be doing it up at the cold therapy and plunging and contrast therapy place. You may benefit much more by small, slow, and steady approaches with heat. And there's right now today not a great way to test exactly what's best for your body. So a big piece of what I believe to be the biggest biohack is knowing what's right for your body today. Okay. So sauna, fasting, some people, and this is the best way to hack fasting, is to wear a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor. If you fast and your blood sugar goes way up when you haven't eaten, stop fasting. That's a cortisol response. So playing with fasting, you may find just stopping dinner at 7 and not eating breakfast till 8 in the morning, that's technically a 13-hour rest. That could be enough for you. Doing occasional 24 to 48-hour water fast can help autophagy and other benefits of the body with aging and your DNA, but it can't be at the expense of an extreme cortisol response. I do like and love, for most people, red light therapy. So the wavelength 660, going through the red frequency and into the 800s of the invisible infrared, that's what most of the red light therapy treatments are. If you have a good quality red therapy, that can help with so many things from mitochondrial function to collagen to nerve regeneration. And as a whole is safe and healthy for most people. So red light therapy starts slow, maybe 10 minutes, get a good quality device. We can put some of our favorites below. And utilizing that more regularly can help with lots of different conditions. Cold therapy, as I mentioned, may not be for everyone. That's a little bit more of a shock to the system. Where I find it super helpful is in patients who go in and out of fight or flight. And a lot of it is anxiety induced because when you're in the cold, you can't think about anything else. So it is a really good place to train for resiliency in your immune responses and in your stress response. So if you want to work on becoming more resilient and learning how to calm your system, cold therapy in a controlled setting, not overdoing it, don't push it when you don't feel up to it, can be a great way to get there. And then remember some other things as simple as short, like high intensity interval training or different types of exercise for short periods of time. Those are stressors. Getting in the morning sun, getting yourself exposed. Don't look directly at the sun, but being outside without glasses on. There are also many herbs and adaptogens that can help. So I have had kind of dramatic results with patients. I had one patient that was borderline schizophrenic who through contrast therapy was able to regulate her nervous system and get off her medications. For me, the more I started utilizing red light therapy, vibration therapy, and sauna, I found my resilience dramatically improved to the point where I can travel across the ocean, go to Europe or other places and not have jet lag. So there are resilience things that you may notice in your life that you wouldn't have thought were possible, that the more you keep training in little micro stressors that are controlled, you'll start noticing them. The other thing I noticed myself was my cold tolerance in the past was negligible, zero, and my daughter was at school in New Hampshire, and I remember I went up to see her, and it was some crazy number on the temperature. I'm used to living in Florida, so it was like 7 or 6 or something crazy degrees. And I had all the gear, but I remember we were just going into a coffee shop, and we didn't have to walk very far. And I literally could not heat up the whole time we were in there, and then we had to walk back out. I was miserable. After a few years of resilience training, including working on my own sovereignty, my own independence, allowing myself to have needs and wants, so that's another massive biohack, which is authenticity, getting it's a stressor to practice authenticity, and then you go back into living your roles, and then you're back into authenticity, living your roles, kind of like contrast therapy. As I was doing that along with it, I found a couple years later, when I was in a similar temperature, and actually I was in Detroit for a football playoff game, which is my favorite if you know me. I'm a Bucks fan. And it was 6 degrees. And me and my friend were walking pretty far. And I had this moment of, wow, I am so proud of myself. I was fine. I mean, it was cold. My fingers were turning numb. I didn't want to stay outside, but I was fine. And I can tell you more stories about patients of mine. One woman who had so much fight or flight. She was in a constant state of fight or flight, and she couldn't eat. Just about anything she ate gave profound nausea, and very often she would vomit or have other GI symptomatology. And what we did was a binaural beats brain training in using brain tap, which is another hack that I love. That combined with red light therapy. And by about 2 weeks out, and she was doing this, she was coming in 3 times a week, 2 to 3 weeks out, and it was the first time that she could eat just about anything, and her gut held up. So these are just a couple of stories on how biohacking and hormesis have changed the lives of my patients and of myself forever, because this has been going on for years now, and how you can find your proper approach, which may be as simple as speaking your truth and as complex as high-level contrast therapy or brain training, and anywhere along the way. That's the exciting part. The better you get, the higher the hacks. And I'm here to help lead you through all of that. I hope this video was helpful. I can't wait to work with you more in the future. And I hope you have a wonderful, amazing rest of your day. Bye for now.